So this backing is some craft lining, so we need to actually just ensure that we've got at least 1.75 inches around all sides of this backing, so as that we're going to use this as a self-binding. So let's pin all this together, and then we will trim our lining up. So pin this together, then we're going to stitch in the ditch across the panels to secure them. If you've got multitude of colours, we're using a superior thread monopoly as our top stitching thread here. It's just easier to match lights and darks, so we're using the clear. We use a polyester thread as opposed to a nylon one because that means it will not melt under the iron. And now we're ditch stitching through all these layers to get the lining to sit onto our quilt. Sink our edge. And then down through the middle. Because if this needs to be washed, if you're using it as a table centre, it may need to be washed at some stage. If those seams aren't secure, they will close during the laundry process. So it's a good idea to actually stitch them in together. So we're stitching the other side of this as well. Other side of that narrow piece of binding. That seam has been opened up, so it really is a stitch in that ditch. Be very, very hard to do if you had a matching thread, because which one would you match, your light or your dark? You're going to see it whichever one you choose, you will actually see it in places. So a clear thread is ideal. Now we need to trim up our lining. So we need to trim up, so we've got 1 inch, 1 3/4 inches out from the edge. I think that rotary cutter needs a new blade. It looks like it's very, very labouring as far as the amount of pressure that has to go onto this. We either need a harder surface or a new blade, one or the other. So all those edges are trimmed back to 1 3/4. We want to fold the area which we have just cut at 1 3/4. We want to fold it to the edge of the border that has the batting in it. So we want to fold that into the border. Now take your time doing this. And then we want to fold our folded edge onto the border and then clip it into position. The more time you take to press and get this right, the easier it will be to stitch in the end and the more even it will look. So that's our folded edge. Now let's have a look at going to a corner. Our folded edge, which has been folded onto the folded to the binding, then onto the binding, we fold that at a 45 degree. using the point of an awl or a quick unpick helps you turn those corners, otherwise the fabric tends to try and pleat. So there we have a beautiful mitre, and we'll be stitching up to the point, and then down the other side we'll be pivoting on that mitered seam. Very simple square edge. There we go. And that's our stitching on the back. We want to actually finish this by edge stitching our binding into place. Just a couple of millimeters in from the folded edge. People generally ask where you're going to start. I usually start at a lower side piece or at the bottom. Generally don't ever start at the top. So we're starting on the right hand lower side piece. We're just going to whiz around the edges here, sinking our needle on our mitered pleat or our turn that we have there. So when it comes to binding, if you don't use a walking foot, it is very often the case that the actual binding will creep. So whether you want to truly top stitch or edge stitch or whatever you want to do, that stitch finish is up to you. It's your choice. So there we go. Enjoy doing the project.
Hey, thanks for watching this tutorial video. If you want to check out really awesome sewing products, go to our website at sewsweetpea.com.